Hello everybody and welcome back to World of Warships Legends. My name is Spartan Elite 43 and tonight we have our very first look as Giulio Caesar. Yep, that's the one. Basically, it's Julius Caesar. So yeah, let's get into the aesthetics here. We got the aesthetics. Let's get into it anyway. Paolo de Revel is our commander. I do have him officially leveled up to level 11 or 12. I want to say it's 11. Yep, 11. Oh, it's in the top left corner, dummy. Anyway, we've got Andrew Cunningham for the dispersion, and we've got Robert Giulio. Now, this is something I want to tell you guys about. I'm using Robert Giulio for the extra penetration, but I also have gotten rid of using Artisan's Touch. Get rid of this. You do not need this if you have Robert Giulio at a decent level, because this increases your time to detonation, which means you're going to overpin more often. These Italian battleships and Italian ships in general have really fast muzzle velocities, meaning they get a lot of penetration. So if you increase the time it takes to detonate, you're going to get more overpenetrations, more shells flying straight through a ship and not detonating inside the ship. So keep that in mind. We are using the crisscross, which is going to increase our traverse speed of our guns by a little bit. It's not a huge bonus, but it is a little bit. And we've got Firefighter? Good God, I can't speak. I apologize. Firefighter, giving us a boost to damage control and risk of catching fire is lessened. And we are running the Master Mechanic for the extra repair party and all of that good stuff. And we are running the Will to Rebuild skill as a legendary perk. This is giving us our ability to repair hit points per second, and also when you get within or less than 20% of your health, it'll start to heal if you're close enough to a friendly. Okay, so let's get to the ship itself. We are going to be using Aiming System Mod 1. Okay, and for the loadout, you'll see that we have the Julius Caesar flag that comes with it, and we are running 4 repair parties because of our perks. And then we have survivability, 45,500 hit points. Now note right here, armor 6 to 280 millimeters. I don't normally point out the armor, but this is not your normal dreadnought. It is considered a dreadnought, but it is not your normal dreadnought. This thing does not have armor. If you've ever played the Congo, it's going to feel a lot like the Congo, with one exception. First of all, you get 30% damage reduction from torpedoes. I don't know where that come from. That's better than the Iowa. Like, it's got better torpedo protection than a lot of higher tier battleships, yet it doesn't appear to have any torpedo bulge at all. And it has very thin armor for a battleship, so it's very interesting in that respect. Now, main battery. You have 2 turrets that have two guns each, and you have 2 turrets that have 3 guns each, allowing you 5 guns over the front or the rear, or a 10-gun broadside. They are only 320 millimeters. That's larger than the Germans get at this tier, but smaller than everybody else. So keep that in mind. Most guns that you're going to be up against at tier 4 are going to be 356 millimeters, so keep that in mind. These are 44 caliber guns, meaning they are 44 times longer. The barrels are 44 times longer than the shell that it fires, so keep that in mind. It does have a decent amount of secondaries, but 4.2 kilometers, you're not going to be seeing these things go off very often. So I haven't had a chance to test those out. Maximum HE shell damage of 4,800 with a 35% chance to set fire is respectable. AP shell, but you're not going to be using the HE very often unless you're against very, very lightly armored targets. AP shell, maximum damage is 9,700, which is again respectable. Okay, maximum speed is where this ship comes into its own. 27 knots top speed. That is tied, I believe, with the Congo, and is right there with the Peter Veliki and the, what's the other one? Anyway, they're right there, top tier, tied for the top of the leaderboard when it comes to speed battleships at this tier. Turning circle, 640 meters is very good for a battleship, okay? The Alabama is considered very good at turning. This thing smokes it by 100 meters almost. So keep that in mind. Well, it's not quite. It's 70 meters. Rudder shift time of only 13 seconds is also pretty good. The concealment is where this ship shines. This ship has 12.7 kilometer surface detection range, meaning you can be sneaky with a battleship. Alright? That's not much worse than most of the cruisers at this tier. So, this is essentially a cruiser. Now, detectability range by air is 10.6. Guaranteed is always going to be 2. And the detectability while firing in smoke is another place where this ship shines. 10.5 kilometers, which is, I believe, the best in the game for any battleship. Somebody's going to have to let me know. I haven't really looked at that stat very often for battleships, but I believe that is best in game currently. So, let's look at the overview. Ironclad, above average armor thickness. You're a liar. You are a liar. I don't care what you say. That is a lie. This thing does not have above average armor thickness. It has average to light armor thickness for a battleship. Okay, keep that in mind. Modest guns, I wouldn't really call these modest guns, so I'm just going to call both these perks lies. You're welcome, Wargaming. Appreciate you. Giulio Cesare, the lead ship in the first series of Italian dreadnoughts. In the 30s, this ship was rebuilt with more powerful and longer range guns, additional torpedo protection, and considerably more speed than before, making her a formidable opponent for the majority of battleships at that time. She entered service in 1914, and there were 3 of them in the series. So let's take a look at this beautiful ship. First of all, like the camo. Very understated. I like it. It's nice. Second of all, look at that profile, man. You got the nice little, is it a lattice mask at the back? Somebody's gonna have to, it's not a cage mask. I think it's a lattice mask. Or mast, not mask. Jesus. I can't speak. I apologize. But we're flying the Julius Caesar flag that you get. And then, of course, the Italian Navy flag behind it. So, what do I think? Well, let's get to the gameplay. Alrighty, so we are on Trident, and we are top tier. Now, I'm not gonna lie, this is only the 3rd or 4th game that I've played in this ship, but the first 2 don't count, because I accidentally goofed up and had my freaking cruiser commander on there, and half the perks that were on that particular commander were specifically for cruisers, so I just abstained from those first 2 battles. This one, however, is going to be a very good showcase of this ship, and why I think that this one, and I'm actually looking forward to getting the Roma back, and trying out having the second inspiration with Robert Giard, and getting rid of the, whatchamacallit, to see how the Artisan's Touch. Because this ship performs awesome. This thing is a lot of fun at Tier 4. Now, I know what some of you are probably thinking. Great, just what we needed, another overpowered battleship at Tier 4. No, this thing is not overpowered. And the reason being, this thing, if it's broadside, it gets citadeled. If it's over-angled, it gets citadeled. If you've ever played the Congo, you know what I'm talking about. It's the same thing. If you're over-angled, you get citadeled. If you're too far broadside, you get deleted. Like, it's just, that's how the balance of these ships works out. However, this ship is very, very good. And I think a lot of people can enjoy this ship. Unfortunately, we're still stuck with the commander for the tank builds. Oh, hello, Karlsruhe. How you doing? Yep, that's a good hit. Good way to start the match. 10,000 damage in our first Citadel hit. Don't worry, there's more of Citadels where that came from. Now, we're going to push over to this right side. There are 3 destroyers on the enemy team. One of them has already been spotted overseas. And there's an angry-looking smokescreen out there that kind of tells us where he's at. But notice that I am 13 kilometers from this Britannia. I'm turning broadside on and I wasn't detected. Now, some of you would be like, well, that was because of the smokescreen. And that very well could be. But we get a good salvo off. We only get 2 hits that time. Not a particularly good salvo, I guess. 4,000 damage done. And we are getting closer and closer. Now, the reason I got detected when I fired my guns there is because their destroyer is still sitting in his smokescreen. And he is closer than 10.5 kilometers. So, with that in mind, we're taking our second salvo at the Britannia here. He is just begging for it out there, and this one's going to be a lot better. Now, keep in mind, if you're used to aiming other battleships' guns, and you haven't played the battleships for the Italians yet, you are going to have to adjust your aim. These shells travel much faster to the enemy ships, and at a full throttle situation where the enemy is going full throttle, you don't need to lead nearly as much as you do in other battleships. Now, I was pretty confident we were going to kill the Britannia there. Unfortunately, the Ishizuki beats us to it, and then we get a decent hit on the T-22, and we have an Emerald out there just begging for it. He gets spotted, his smoke screen has kind of gone away, and he is just sitting there broadside on in front of God and everybody, and we are going to absolutely let him have it. Now, we knew he was going to be starting to go forward, and look how quickly these rounds get to the target. Now, he gets away with not getting Citadel the first time, but the rear guns catch him and absolutely punish him for 12,600 damage there, bringing our damage total already up to 3,700 or 37,000 damage. Now, this destroyer and this cruiser are in a world of trouble. They are overmatched by the amount of people that are on this side, and they are very, very visible because our team is pushed up on them. And so, unfortunately, they are going to struggle to disengage. And by struggle, I mean they are not going to be able to disengage. You just can't. I mean, I'm 9 kilometers away from the cruiser and only 6 kilometers from the destroyer. You're not getting away from a battleship that's doing 27 knots when you're that close. So, the only thing that these guys can do is pray that we don't manage to absolutely wreck them. Now, obviously, I've switched priorities over to the T-22. He's coming in for what I assume is a suicide torp run, and so we are absolutely ready and hoping that our next salvo is going to be enough. Now, clearly, I'm still shooting armor piercing, but that's solely because I wasn't, paying that much attention, but still, armor piercing is going to be enough, and we take down our first kill of the game. And the entire enemy team is already gone. Let's just put that out there. This team has steamrolled the enemy. They lost their destroyer, they lost their cruiser, they lost their battleship right off the bat on this flank, and that leaves this Ishizuki out on an island all by himself. And we are going to perfectly demonstrate the difference between having concealment on a battleship like this and not having concealment on a battleship like the Ishizuki. Now, these ships are very, very similar, except I'm not detected, and he is. Now, we get the shot off, we get detected momentarily, and wait for it, pow! First Citadel on the Ishizuki, 9,700 damage, and then out of nowhere, a destroyer comes by and drops a smokescreen for me. What is this madness? And it was at this moment I found out that this battleship is special. Wait for it. We've got all 4 guns loaded, we pull the trigger, and we didn't get detected. We're only 11.6 kilometers, and there's 2 more Citadels. All his health belongs to me. This is the moment that I was just like, alright, I see you, Wargaming. I see you. If you're in a division with a destroyer or a cruiser that has a smokescreen, this thing is deadly. So, Ishizuki turning out, he's trying to get out of here. He's trying his best to disengage, but he doesn't realize that I'm just as fast as he is, and he's not able to get away from us. And then, of course, the destroyers out there are able to keep him detected even when I was in the smokescreen, meaning we are getting more shots on him than he can on us. And then when he does shoot at us, he doesn't understand that he should be shooting armor piercing, because he has good enough guns for it. But this time we pull the trigger, and unfortunately for him, he is not going to survive with our next Citadel. And he does hit us with some HE, but over the course of the battle, we are not barely even scratched. And their team has been completely and utterly humiliated in this fight. We're at 92,000 damage done. We've got our second kill of the game, and we're charging towards the last known position of two destroyers and a cruiser. Now, I'm not gonna lie. I saw what we were up against: two destroyers and a cruiser, and the cruiser is a tier 2. So I'm like, all right, just HE. Just have HE loaded from here on out, because you're not gonna need the AP. You'll just overpin and not do as much damage. So keep that in mind. Now we are going to push forward to A because it's domination. Want to take caps if we can, and these guys are requesting us to help the enemy, or help the friendly destroyer who's at the front, and that's exactly what we're going to do. In a moment, I'm going to demonstrate. A, I'm going to goof, and B, I'm going to demonstrate just how nice this thing turns. We've already shown a little bit of its turning, but this thing is so fantastic at swinging the rear out and getting shots on. And that's why, much like the Colorado, much like the Amagi and the Nagato back before they got the steering nerfs, you can bow tank incoming rounds and then swing out, hit them with all guns, and then go back to bow tanking before they can shoot you again. That's where this thing is going to shine in most confrontations against other battleships. Same thing for the tier 4 Russians. Same exact thing. They're very good at turning. So if you can bow tank the incoming rounds, then you can... That dispersion was horrendous. But if you can bow tank the incoming rounds, you can turn and get the rears involved very quickly. Unfortunately, it's going to take us some time because we were going so fast. It's going to take us some time to slow down. We are going to kind of bump the island here. You know, just a little shout out to Hivehound there. But no, we're going to go back and try to finish off this Bogatyr. Unfortunately, we're too close to the island. We smashed the island with our front guns. The rear guns can't quite shoot him, and he's getting torped by our Farragut. Very good torpedoes from the Farragut. Very poor awareness by the tier 2, but it's a tier 2. I mean, if you're playing tier 2, you probably have no idea what you're doing yet. And so you can't really fault him. Okay? I don't know how a tier 2 managed to get into a tier 4 match, but it definitely did. Pretty sure Bogatyr is a tier 2. Anyway, we've got a Farragut out here who is just absolutely begging for it, but he's going to give us a better angle to shoot at, and we're going to take it now. He's slowing down to get inside his smoke, so we don't have to lead him as much, and we almost just outright delete him. One salvo, and I almost deleted him. And between the rest of my teammates, you would think he wouldn't have survived any longer, but he manages to survive just long enough to disappear. Our cruiser opting to try to shoot him with torpedoes instead of just firing his guns and finishing him off. But, you know, it's an Omaha. A lot of people don't know what they're doing in Omahas, and the fact that he's firing armor piercing at a destroyer kind of proves that home as well. And I'm not hating on my teammates, trust me. I mean, if anything, this is the happiest I've been about teammates in a long time, especially the destroyers on our team. Now, we did lose one of our 2 destroyers in this fight, and I'll take credit for that. That was my fault. I kind of goofed it by running into the island, trying to get the rear guns involved. But we're going to use our closing speed to get out here and chase these guys down. We can take the hits. It's very unlikely that we're going to die from torpedoes at this point. So we go ahead, we try to fire the guns, but they didn't want to fire right away. And unfortunately, the Omaha is able to snipe the kill from us at just the last second. His rounds were going much faster than mine, and managed to get there first. But we know where the Isakaze is, or the Isokaze, or whatever you want to call it. It's headed straight out ahead of us. And then it fires its guns, and allowing me to see him, which is preferable. If you're going to do that, I will gladly oblige. And look at the drifting of the destroyer next to me. We got the Isakaze here. At this point, I figure he's probably just done with this match. He's like, I don't know what I'm going to do. He is trying to bait me into torpedoes, and kind of succeeds. Except not really, because the way he fires his torpedoes, I'm able to just go right in between them. Slowing down, making slight adjustments, and just getting out of the way. Now, this shot here is actually pretty nice. Good, solid hit. We set him on fire. And we're going to go full broadside to get the rear guns involved. And watch what happens when we do. Shot out. And nighty-night, sunshine. Go back to port. So, hopefully you guys enjoyed. Actually, I did quite enjoy this ship so far. So, let me know what you guys think. 103,000 damage, 3 kills, 6 citadels. Not bad. So if you like what I'm doing, punch the like button, leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and as always, I will see you in the next video.